wacky. So
yeah, after a holiday, sometimes there is this, as we discussed on the other show, was that there is that deep freeze and that it's coming apart and the energy is changing. The first caller we got was somebody that was controversy. Didn't matter what we say. A contrarian. Didn't matter what I said or what we said. It was wrong.
it was just going to be an argument.
And it was like, okay, we'll let that go. Then there, as we're trying to set up the show, we're not understanding why. We've done this procedure lots of times.
So it's just getting back in the flow after the weekend or the holidays, or something's going on and just trying to sync back up.
We're not allowed to get in the chat room. We're not sure exactly what happened. So we're going to have to kind of just figure out and go with the flow. How are you going to respond if things don't go correctly? We just had the camera decide it didn't want to record, or at least stop recording so it could work properly. My phone this morning, immediately I had it charged all night long, and when we tried to start the show it said, oh, your phone is dead. Well, we can't have a show without any phone. So we just had to work around it. So, you know, and when you look at all these things you could spin out. What's a spin out, Jen?
Well, I was doing that a little bit because it's just frustrating because I wanted it to work and it just wasn't working, and I tried it to go with, I know how to do this, and then all of a sudden it seems like things are against me, and it's just kind of like you get, if you were a little cartoon character, you could imagine having a little puff of smoke above your head and just getting frustrated because it's just not working right.
Yeah. Well, the first card I pull up happens to be called the Bone Collector, and this is for Jen. This is her part in the reality of what's happening today, right now. So go ahead.
Bone Collector. You are whole and have everything you need within. When the Bone Collector card appears, she is asking you to look closely at your circumstances to see if you are fully present or reacting out of the past conditioning and unconscious expectations. Whenever we're wounded, especially when we're young, it's as if something essential is stolen from us. We adapt and accept a particular version of the truth that then sets us up to behave a certain way in the future when faced with a situation that reminds us of the original event. What we know about ourselves thus becomes influenced by a perception of limitation. You may feel unworthy or without courage. You may see yourself as flawed or unlovable, or expect to be criticized. No matter what your question, the Bone Collector reminds you that the truth is that you are a powerful being with limitless possibilities. She has kept safe what was stolen from you in the wounding, and is here for you as you reclaim it now. You have everything you believe you lack, and the Bone Collector is your inner resource. Act as if you have what you need, and you'll find you have it after all. Anything is possible. With awareness, the wounds of the past need not define you.
So what does that take away, Jen?
Well, the expectation of being criticized in the past had something happened like this evening when we were trying to get on, and it wasn't working, and it wasn't working, it wasn't working. The expectation is that somehow it's my fault. I'm doing it. I'm not doing it right. I'm not making it happen. I'm the block. I'm the problem. That's how things were in the past, and I would be criticized for that accordingly. Where this information is saying, well, that may have been the past, and that may have been your old wounds. What the Bone Collector has preserved what was lost, and so now, when it's a time of reclaiming, which is funny because that's what my blog was about reclaiming, is that now she's keeping it safe and saying, okay, I've kept this for you. You're healing this idea of the past and the criticism, and so now here, and everything you have you need is inside.
So, that's good. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this caller real quick before we go any further. Hello, caller. You're on the air with Medicine Woman Revealed. How can we help you?
I'm just calling in to listen, Brenda. My page is driving me crazy, so I wanted to hear, and I decided to just call in.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Just mute your mic on that side, and you should be able to be okay, correct?
Done.
All right. And we will
Just shrink it down.
We'll shrink it down. Gotcha.
Okay, thanks for being dedicated to us.
Yes, we
Yes.
appreciate it. You know, a lot of new changes going on as well. So you have to remember your denigration that happens in your head. What do I mean by denigrations for those that are listening?
Well, it's if somebody on the outside isn't there to blame me or to rip me a new one, then I do that to myself.
And why would one person do that to themselves?
Well, it's just what I grew up with, it's what I'm used to, it's the conditioning of something's going wrong, somebody must be to blame, there's a criticism that has to happen somewhere, and more than likely then I'm somehow going to have the finger pointed at me that it's my fault.
And that's good that you pointed it out. The conditioning of the group consciousness can be many, but there's a common thread. Everybody seems to denigrate themselves. Everybody, to some degree, expects people to, hopefully, you mock yourself or denigrate yourself. You know, I expect you to treat yourself that way. I mean, just listen to how, this is just how life is. My growing up in my era, the positive thinking was nothing but negative thinking. If it was calm day, then that was a great day. If you didn't bitch, then, oh my God, what's going to happen? You know, if it's too happy, what's going to happen? And I could not live in that frequency. So what's happening for me today is I'm done. My part of my body has been falling apart because I cannot be in that space of that energy field of this is how people have to act, this is how people have to be. Like when we got that caller today, it was simply, you know, they have to be contrary no matter what. Well, it doesn't matter what I'm going to say, they're going to, you know, so I just opted to say, excuse me.
It was just time to end the,
Yep.
it was just
I asked Spirit, what are we
misery.
doing? So I grabbed 2 cards, still was wrong. And so, you know what, I'm out of sync with you, which is absolutely true.
Right.
And there's no denigrating there, it's just that calling it what it is, and I'm going to bow out, and I'm not going to do this. So that's what I did. Now the other part is being little, you can't run away. So as a child, I couldn't run away, I was stuck with it. So every time I would have plans, somebody's plans would override my plans, and it would just happen to unfold in that fashion. Well, that is what the energy is coming up, is those old conditionings and strategies and patterns I think are coming up and to the surface to be done with. Okay?
Right,
Because
there's an intolerance, and now I think I'm on board with you that we're now not going to tolerate that.
yeah, and
It's done. There's no need for it. It's just, it's decimating.
yes, I without realizing it, I cut out my woman cave from the rest of the family. Our house is huge. It was 2 houses into one, kind of like it is. When they added on the addition, is separated to some degree, so it's like 2 houses. And when his mom and dad died, I moved my business over here, which then meant I moved myself over here, because when you're usually in a business, you're around at 24 hours. So then before you know it, I had cut out this little space for me. And the energy was different because it was just me. I didn't have anybody living here but me. People that came in were my students and some customers, but no big deal. They had my husband and my kids had a life on that side. I just had my own space. So the self-talk or the frequency was always positive in spirit, constantly studying, learning, growing, doing whatever I needed to do in that frequency. So when I was in sync with my own self, and that's what I started to talk about in my other show, was that the spirituality within yourself is great, but it's when you start to link up with other people that are in their spirituality, and there is this different levels of awareness. If you are hanging with some people, they'll say, well, my level's better than yours. Well, that's no different than just being human. You
Right.
haven't really gotten out of
I'm
the
enlightened.
judgment.
My enlightenment is better than your enlightenment, and you're just being ridiculous with whatever that enlightenment thing is over there.
So that usually is a
That's a
human
human-
person that is trying to be like somebody else. And when you become more spiritual and awakened, you could care less of judging others. But when you start to combine relationships, you both can be spiritual, but you both may be at a different space of where you are on that level of your soul's growth. You still can be out of sync. Now, as you take a look at patterns and habits and behaviors, I felt freer not having those other people's thoughts and opinions, because I didn't realize how much, I don't mean to exorbitate, I can tell it is just one of those gifts that I haven't fine-tuned as good as I'd like. I can tell, like Jen's laughing at me the other day, you know. I knew what she was thinking. I bought 2 lipsticks, and I put it on half of my lip, both colors, and so I looked like a clown. Now, she wasn't saying, haha, you're a clown. In her mind, I could feel, she's like, oh my God, could you please wipe that off? That reminds me of Scary Clown. That's all I could feel. So I licked my lips and I go, oh my God, that's a bad taste. So I wiped it off, and as I started noticing how easy it was coming up, then I finally said, oh, I'm going to voice what I heard. Whether it was true or not, I don't know. So Jed, can you tell me how accurate it was, or you just thought it was, what?
It was amusing to me that they were 2 colors. I didn't hear anything about, I wasn't consciously connected into the idea of scary clown thoughts.
Now that's funny, because out of the 41 thoughts, I don't know which ones I tap into, except for I'm trained to tap into yours that's causing you to have less energy.
Right, so
And
which
so
would
I'm
make
like,
sense.
oh. So when we look at the quantum space of how things are done, it probably would make sense of why I would pick it up. Does it mean that I'm correct? No. Does it mean that I'm incorrect? No. It depends on which frequency. You even told me that there are times that I will talk, argue, define, or do something. I can't remember what you said it was. And I'll have a conversation all by myself, pretty much, and you and Scott are going, what is she doing?
Mm-hmm.
Why is she having that conversation? She's all in her world by herself. So it depends on what frequency you hear and listen to. So as last year, I couldn't take it anymore, and so I had opted out of doing that frequency. I'm done. Cutting people off. Well, that backfired to some degree, because I'd only invited more people in. And so instead of living by myself, I have now living with 3 more people.
Yes.
And I'm like, how'd that happen? But
Or just
how
physical manifestations of your little inner dialogue.
But how did this work? Well, it didn't work until we decided, we're out of sync. Let's address this together. This is what I see in my end. I'm going to heal it from this end. Do you see it on your end? Yes? Great. No? Great. If it is, heal it, you know. And we could tell when we drop out of sync, and we would address it right then and there. We didn't address it like every other human would.
Right.
And how would other people do it?
Well, it's interesting because, so I've got this friend, and I was explaining one of our blow-ups from the summer, and most people who have a blow-up are just like, just get out of my space, but it's kind of like, well, we kind of saw it coming to some degree, and so then I went off and I got my cards, and I was going to do hope therapy, look at what was going on, and then you offered, well, if you're going to be doing that, do you want some help? And it was kind of like you were asking kind of in a sheepish kind of way, like, you know, is it okay to ask if you want help, you know? Because you've always been my teacher and coach. Well, this person said to me, well, I'm glad that you can see it that way, because I would have seen her as condescending, like, oh, do you need some help healing that kind of thing? But that's not where you were coming from, and I know that. And so it is completely different when we have a blow up or falling out or something like that. And especially since we've done card readings and kind of see, well, this is on the horizon and it may not be pretty. And then it unfolds, and then it's like, oh crap, it unfolded. And then it's, okay, well then how do we bring it back? Because we don't want that. We don't want that in the household. So it's like, well, and then you were honestly asking, well, if you're interested, you know, would you like my assistance?
Exactly.
As a coach would ask, like out on the football field or something like that, if somebody messes up and there's a blow up, you still have that coach on the field to guide what's going on so that it can still play out without just a bunch of bungling up. So
Makes sense.
it makes sense.
Nope, this is what, this is true. This is how I look at it, is when I step back and I see something, yes, when you're ready, let's take it to the next step. But you have to have that little bit of a mourning time, the blow up time, the spin out time of when that moment happens, you spin out, you lose it. And it could ruin the rest of your day, because the whole day could be like that. You just wish you could climb back into bed. And what happens is the emotions of the chemical peptides become so taxing, and you're going against who you really are, your true identity, and then those other identities of how you watch everybody in the catalog of life. Your mother, your father, your sister, your aunts, your uncles, your teachers, your peers, everybody that learned how to handle a situation. And most of the times, the one that scared the hell out of you are the ones that you're going to react in the same way, because you couldn't process how they did it. And so then you bring to the table, oh my God. And when you're stressed, you cannot think of the easy possible way. Most of the times you go right to narrowing down your delete, distort, and you're doing your best to just, okay, I can survive just this moment. Can I just focus on one thing? And we're so good at the old way of thinking or communicating is you're supposed to bitch about it. You're supposed to be mean. You're supposed to say negative comment. You're supposed to point out the stuff you hate. You're supposed to really exaggerate because you're trying to figure out how to get rid of all these chemical peptides. They want out. They are the gas for your car. So it's time to really, really get it out of your system. And the old way, because you saw the code, and the old way was thinking that's just who you are. Oh, this is all I get. This is who I am. Can't help it. This is what it is. Well,
This is my lot in life. And these are the cards that I've been dealt, so I'll do the best that I can with them.
exactly.
Oh, it's like droopy dog. I just got that voice in my head. Oh well, I can't do a droopy dog voice, but it's like, okay, this is what we got, people. Yeah, I'm trying to do my best droopy dog.
In your mind, it sounds awesome.
In my mind, it sounds fabulous, but it's not coming out that great.
Because of the times that I'm not sure exactly, what is an actual break.
In 5 minutes.
We'll go in 5
Yeah,
minutes.
we started at 20 after roughly.
Did it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
18.
Oh, okay. I didn't
So-
see that part.
Yep.
So, it's important to watch, and I want to point out again, the gems of how do we think? How do we act? What is our daily thinking? And it can be very confusing. So I pulled the card to overall of what was going on in my space, and it came to the spirit of place. Again, we're using the deck of the Colette Baron reads, the Enchanted Map, and Scott will read.
Spirit of place. Authenticity is the essence of power. Our ancient ancestors believed that every place has a spirit looking after it or embodying it. Just as we have a soul, the plants, trees, birds, mountains, and rivers have their own essences. When the spirit of place arrives in your reading, it says that the answer to your query is in the overarching theme of your circumstances. Is your question about a struggle? The answer is to relax and let go of your need to control a situation. If your inquiry relates to finding love, then embody love rather than long for it. Once you find the essential truth that underlies your question and then name it, you'll discover the answer you've been seeking. Your greatest power is your authenticity.
Well, it wants attention. That's part of what we were talking about earlier. There's the attention, high maintenance. It's the attention that you want it. Something needs to be wanted. Now, in the spirit place, if there is a spirit that's watching over everything in the individual realms, that is the true nature of what we need to become. Not read the encoding of the repetitive patterns of our health. We have really lost our way of understanding this mathematical equation. It doesn't have to be complicated. It really, really doesn't.
Math is hard.
That's what we taught ourselves.
Wasn't that the Barbie voice?
Could be.
Math is hard.
Maybe. But like when Scott would read, oh, I get all green light or red lights. I get all red lights. I get all left
No
turnies.
longer.
But he would read code, but how did he interpret it? He interpreted it as that it was annoyed by it. Because he started to notice what he was drawing
was a
in
pattern.
through the attraction factor, and it was a pattern.
Now there's
Okay.
new patterns emerging.
Yes. And thank goodness there is, because now we get green lights. And that is good, because it benefits whoever's in the car. When we were going to Lansing, driving, I knew that somebody else's programs was overriding me. I got every slow car you can imagine, somehow always in the way. I got every red light, and it's like, oh crap, somebody's program. I'm picking up somebody's program, and I am projecting out this program. And I was reading the encoding. How will I respond to it? Will I get angry? Will I get frustrated? How will I respond it? That's what it really boils down to. You don't realize how much you respond to a situation. So we were watching TV, and I know that, like I told you, I had last year tried to run away from all of this, not intentionally, just, well, yeah, intentionally I said I was done.
You broke away.
I
It
broke
wasn't
away.
a running away, it
No.
was an intentional
I said I
shift.
was done.
Right.
Which was, anybody that had any negative experience, get out. Done. I don't want to hear it. You're talking negative, heal it or get out. Done. You're going to be here? Okay, great. What? Oh, you just said a nasty, get out. It's not that it was saying naughty words, it was just negative. Couldn't do it anymore because the vibration was just too much for me.
It's so it was funny. You guys were still in Lansing or coming back. I was watching the Adventures of Lois and Clark, and the thing that was going to what Superman needed to put an end to was from a Mr. Gadget guy. The thing that emanated sound. It was another sound frequency thing.
Yeah.
Which is
Well,
interesting
that's
because
a real huge-
on a it's not subatomic, it could be subatomic, I don't know. But those frequencies could tear down buildings. So
Yes.
in the same way, if we imagine ourselves with that negativity or that kind of thing, because we are emanating that, then yes, it can be detrimental to the people around us.
And we'll talk more about that after this commercial.
We're back.
Okay, now we're back. Sound waves. People think that it is just talking music. It's something that you hear. There's sound waves that can be called vibrations, frequencies. We emanate them in every situation. We, like out of the 41 thoughts, there are some that I hear and some that are not heard. They may not think that they're showing this behavior, but I think the book's called Snap, and you have 10,000 gestures that you do within a snap that emanates out for a person to see. So intuitively, it doesn't even have to be, you don't have to be psychic for this. But then there's the interpretation. If I defined a smirk that is bad or a smirk that is good, I'm the one that defines it. So if I'm reading their gestures, I'm the one that's going to be interpreting it. And I can put a snotty attitude on it, or I can say they hate me, or I'd see it, it's all good. It all depends on how you define it. It's about how you know it. Healing how you know it. Now I see some of our peeps have learned how to get into the shout. They just can't figure out how to get into the website chat. Neither have we. Hopefully I'll get my hands on a set of instructions, and as soon as I figured it out, I will put it up on our Facebook page and some other places,
Right.
so that other people can find the easy access of how you get in.
At
So
least you can
that'll
hear
be
our
my goal.
voices, hopefully.
Yes.
Once we got that going.
Yes. But that'll be my goal.
Yep.
So again, that's another form of sound wave.
Yeah.
But what wants attention is those particular part of our souls wanting to say, get back to who you are. That's what wants attention. The positive, the goodness wants attention. But it's all blocked by all this negativity that weighs us down, that depletes our being of who it is that we're becoming. So it's those conditioning processes. I was playing games. As we play games, we're taught to be very competitive. And what I've realized was that it can lead to bullying. When I had to do softball, baseball, or any of this stuff, it was all about, you have to, if you're the teammates up and you're standing off the sideline, you're supposed to, what do they call it? Catcalling. You're supposed to say all these things to throw them off, make them think,
Yeah, hey about it, hey about it.
yeah, you
The
can say
heckling
that-
and
Heck-
the
heckling.
derogatory kind of teasing and
and this
You
is
gotta
supposed
throw them
to,
off their game.
and
Right.
then this is also supposed to fuel you so you do better. And I'm thinking, seriously? No. We were playing games, and all it does is cause people to get angry and to fight. And it's like bullying to some degree. And it's not funny. The old way is not funny.
and
Part-
it's not enjoyable.
No. And part of the awakening is not accepting it. Some people say, oh, it's just a woman's movement because a woman is saying it. In my views, men can say it too. But I was at Thanksgiving, and so here's all these men joking about women in a negative fashion. I says, see, Jen, told you they knew all about women.
They're like, no, we don't.
And they said, no, they don't. I says, well, isn't that fascinating
Your
how
comments.
you comment of knowing that we can't do those things, or we do those things and you don't like them. You know, and they're like, what? You could just see them saying, whoa, 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 I don't want no woman's movement crap, you know. And it's not that it was woman's movement crap, it's just, I was tired of the negativity. You know what? Go beat on somebody else.
You could be insulting goldfish. We'd be standing up for the goldfish, you know?
I'm just, and so then somebody thought it was funny, they came over and they started to do it, you know, tell me a joke. I couldn't find the humor in the jokes that they were saying. It wasn't that I didn't have a humor bone, but some of them were just...
Some of them were completely offensive to me.
Some of them I just couldn't frickin' get. What was the point of it?
Right.
You know, but, alright, so I move on. I look a little bit further, so playing these games. I watch the two energies of, in the household, they are very much carried that, look at me, again, this is not a bad thing, but we're taught, oh my God, you know, I'm being bad. No, it's an energy, everybody has different forms, and it's called signatures. And so look at me, I'm a princess. So they have this energy of being one, which is no big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when that princess is in that line of energy that says, I'm supposed to receive abundance. I'm supposed to receive abundance. And we had one caller one time that had called up and says, didn't know, but at a very young age, the grandparents died, left the house to this woman. Mm-hmm. And everybody on the block seemed to be mad at her. And then she even created someone in the chat room to come up and blast her, saying it's wrong that she get abundance for doing nothing. She didn't work for it. And I'm thinking, no, that's a belief system.
And that's why this person is having struggle. This person's explanation as to why they're having struggle now is because they didn't know how to work for that house, and it was just handed to them. And so now the universe is showing them, you didn't earn it, so now you get to struggle. And it's like,
seriously?
Dang, in my world, the universe hands you stuff and says, here, you know,
you're my child.
You need a roof over
Why
your
you live
head.
in a shit box? Go have a nice one.
Exactly, you need a roof over your head, and this is a way to make it happen. And we know that you may be struggling at this point in your life, but at least you'll have a roof over your head.
Exactly.
So,
but it had to be almost ashamed, even though the person was ashamed. There's supposed to be this guilt and shame that rules this world. And as again, we're watching the energy of playing games. There's two princes in the room. Again, people put a bad connotation to that word, and it's not. It's the signature. So it's an archetype. So I'm watching these two energies playing, and all of a sudden, because one got more stars on the game than the other, they couldn't really boast about it because what was the feeling nature of it? It almost had to be ashamed because it just was coming easy.
It was coming easy, and other people weren't doing it. So I better not.
And then you got the denigration of, well, God, aren't you lucky?
Oh, why are they in first? And they're not doing anything.
I should have one of those
stars.
stars.
They get a free star, and it's okay. Well, I better not draw attention to the fact that
it's
doing well,
easy.
that it's coming well, that it's becoming effortless. I better not draw attention to that because then it's just going to be a smackdown.
And then there was energy of, after you're watching it happen, there's a part of you that don't even want to participate, so you want to back out. Then they call you, what are you doing giving up? It's not that a person was giving up as much as it was,
I don't want to participate in that crap.
So there's all of this energy, so it's hard to stay on the wagon. And let me explain. As I'm teaching how to become a spiritual human, and what is this all about? It has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with that relationship with self and then relationship with other human beings. You're creating a healthier inner world, and of course you're going to want to rearrange your outer world. And the hardest part is when you start to rearrange your inner world and great things are happening for you, it starts to emanate out. You have now got to let go of, and this is insulting, the dead wood. But what it is that you no longer are vibrating in the same sequence with the other person. And it's time for you to move. You have to be okay to let go of your friends. And if they want to come with you, no problem. You guys will work together to make it happen. But when it don't work, then you hear, oh, you've changed. And as if it was insulting, why the hell? Change back. I've changed my hair to red, and people don't like it. You know what? It's not going to stop me because I want to know what I feel like. I want to know what's going on. I like my hair. And I'm beginning to get to the point where I think I'm going to keep it. Because it's allowing me to express another part of me. And in the past, I would have people constantly tell me negative things in hopes that I take their advice and change. And I had been a great person that would take your advice and change. But all it did was help me to live the way you expected, but it interfered with my soul's growth pattern. You have to remember, if you're drawing those people in to give you advice, you have to, one, consider the source. So let's look at it from this point. You're the one that has a lot amount of knowledge. People come to you and they want help. I really want your help. And sometimes they just want sounding boards. And sometimes people want sounding boards that will also do the work for them. Some people want just to be heard. Some people want the woundology of relationships. Some people just want to chit-chat, so that's all I can think about. You know, there's all these different reasons. But when we hear people whine enough or in pain enough, we want to reach out. So we'll give them great advice. Why? Because we are moving through the 4 stages of growth. We are now become the teacher stage, where we have to teach what we know. That is part of that growth stage. We're not in the baby stage anymore, where everything is, everything's right, I know everything, there's no more room to grow. The students is knowing that there's something that needs to be learned, just don't know what it is, but you're not going to be too ignorant not to learn it. Well, this teacher, no, there's a lot of stuff to be learned, but the stuff that they learned, now they need to find a way to be the platform as a teacher so they can really enforce what they need to teach, what they need to learn for themselves. So you're learning those growth stages. So when people ask you for advice, fine, throw it out there. I had kept myself to myself, and I didn't say anything until one time my friend kept calling me up all the time, every day, whine, whine, whine. And then finally, Spirit says, why aren't you giving her a tool? Because I know she won't want it. Do it anyway. Because number one, I was getting drained. I didn't have a healthy boundary. I got stuck for hours on the phone, and I could never put it down. I couldn't do my work. She's checking. Well, what did I just say? As if to check to see whether or not I was listening.
Right, so you were being policed, you couldn't let the phone go and it was interfering with your work.
Yes, and finally I said, I noticed there's a pattern here, and I am so sorry I have taken so long to give you a tool. But you can do it this way. If you like it, I can help you. If not, you can learn it on your own. And again, I didn't hear back from her for a year. But then, she took my advice, or she at least looked at it, because she knew she couldn't talk to me again. So I told her, I said, look, I want you to heal this. Don't call me back until you really have. Pretty much is what I really was putting out there. And it's not that I was being mean, it's just that I had to create a boundary. I couldn't put up with that negative space anymore. I couldn't do it. I have to draw a line on this negativity. So as we were playing games, what ended up happening was that I fell off the wagon. My comfortability of my spirituality, of always positive thinking, thinking and being in spirit, and looking at, now this is the tricky part, because I'm a soul coach, I'm looking at the quantum mirrors, how one mirror reflects off the other, and then it creates this infinity of how it reflects back and forth. And I'm constantly in that space. I'm talking to people all the time, I'm brainstorming, I'm jamming, I'm doing something. Well, when you start to eliminate all of that, which is what I did, I started to become in sync with other people's patterns. Then you start to lose who you are, because you get caught up in that frequency, and you start swearing, and you start getting angry, you start getting negative, and I noticed that I have to fight for my space again. And it's not territorial of a physical aspect, but it's an energy aspect. Okay? I don't want to do it anymore. So I actually blown up at my husband today. And I realized that the chemical peptides had just came out, because when I got up this morning, I said, okay, so why was there back pain? And feeling great, as if nothing was wrong with me. Walked out, and they said, pay attention. That's all I heard. I paid attention to what was happening, who was talking to me, what was being said, what the environment was, and instantly I couldn't bent, I couldn't move, I had to go to the bathroom, that was pain just to get sit down, and then I had a hard time, wiping myself, but the point was is that, oh my God, I'm in extreme pain. And finally I said, okay, I'm going to stop. Well, and evaluate everything that had occurred. The common factor was there's grief, there's falseness, there's attention. Somebody wants my attention. I have to give it to them the way they want it. If I start talking the way I am, they get mad at me. I have to be what they want me to become. And it's like, seriously? And if I don't give the proper amount of attention, then it happens again. It's like, okay, I can't say anything out of terms, I can't touch anything, because it freaks them out. Why do I even have to exist in this, is what my question is. But once I started to do that, the pain started to go away. And then I let spirit in, and the energy shifted to the point where I didn't have any pain again. So my body really is telling me that I do not know how to relate to, because I keep going back to the stomach meridian, my body goes into great alarm. I don't know how to be grounded with these people. I don't know how to become in sync without losing myself or having their program override mine. Now there's a lot of healing that I need to do, but how I need to do it and what healing is where I am at. Because you're looking at seasons, because this is winter time and Christmas time, people will go into certain physical behaviors. And that's what we have to pay attention to.
It's almost like a recall.
Yes.
Or a reset. They know because of what holidays meant, that's almost like an archetype, and then they go and become whatever that is supposed to be.
So the attention, everybody's signature wants attention. Everything wants to be seen. Now nature's calling, and it's a positive thing, and it wants to be it wants to be part of it. We were talking about grounding, and the grounding is very important, and we had one caller today that was all about how we had to help her ground as part of before she could actually start to begin to heal, because she had some addictions. Now we're going to talk about this after this promo or whatever it is that we have. Since we're going to talk about grounding. A few examples. Have you ever been in a car accident and have whiplash? Whiplash, the seventh, any part of the neck and the spine, so you're talking about the cervical and the thorax. Did I say that wrong? Yes, I did. Oh my God,
Thoracic Park.
No.
Jurassic Park? Jurassic Park?
No, the thorax.
Oh my God, I can't pronounce.
And now all of a sudden I'm going to the thorax.
Yes. Okay, don't matter. The whole part of
The
your
body
spine in
part.
the neck. When the energy and the frequencies of the body and the neck do not connect properly, will cause a disruption, so that you're just the lack of communication. So when you try to send the signal from your brain to your body, it don't work, and your body sends the signal to your brain, it don't work. That's the first thing I learned about when I was doing hands-on healing with Reiki, was that people will have a break right there. So that needs to be healed, because that will cause you to not be connected to the stomach meridian, which is connected to the earth. When people go up into airplanes, it's like if the stomach meridian flips, and no longer are you connected to the stomach meridian of the planet or stomach meridian of the atmosphere. Okay? And literally your body and all of you will feel jet lag. Something's not right. You feel disconnected. You can't think. It's so important to get the mind and body connected, and to get your stomach meridian connected to Mother Earth as well as Father Sky. That needs to be that flow. And like I said, you can feel ungrounded. Ungrounded in some cases can be when you have that first experience, whatever it is, whatever the first abuse is, the first scary thing. Being in a car accident, physically abused, mentally abused. You get thrown off that center. The first time it happens, you're unable to process, plus you're unable to reconnect to that where you need to be. And when that occurs, the energy will actually cause a disruption, and you'll have all kinds of issues. So it's so important to become grounded. We're actually thinking about doing a segment on maybe a video or audio, or just writing stuff down about how to become grounded and all the many ways you become ungrounded.
Oh, hug a tree.
And generally that can help, but if you have a disconnection in your neck,
There's no, it's like when this is a good example of trying to make your lights connect on your Christmas tree, and you go from strand to strand. If there's like a light bulb out or something, it's not going to be able to have the signal, so there's not a signal running, and so that's like a break. There's a
that's
break
very good. I like that analogy.
through the spinal cord up through the your
Because
brain.
the full energy is not going through it. You might have a signal, but it's not tapping in the wire. Like you were just putting one of my musical Santa Clauses or whatever it was, and we'll have to have you fix that, Scott. And we
I put
saw
batteries in.
we scrubbed little wires. We saw it light up briefly, but there's
It's coming
still
to
a
life.
disconnect.
You know,
Yeah.
you do the
Heart thing.
I will look
Zap.
at it.
clear. Yeah, that's what you the
Well,
defibrillator.
So we know there's energy present. It's just going to the designated spots that it needs to go.
And Christmas is about the toys, and the toys not working. So Mr. Fixin will take
And
a
all
look.
of you on Sepia here, you may be watching or tuning into the videos as well. And we have a great set.
Santa's workshop came to visit.
Yeah, you can't see our Christmas tree because there's three in here, so you can't really see
It's
it.
right there.
But behind
It's
us
right there.
is Jen did not really get to celebrate Christmas and the way she liked to decorate and do things. And I said, well, guess what? You get the studio to decorate.
Last year.
Yeah, last year.
I
So
think
go
that's
for
Is
it.
that Angels from next door?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So I said, just go ahead and decorate. So behind me, we have a lot of Disney theme. That is definitely her. And then she found one of my boxes of all my little tiny knickknacks because I had a ton of shelves all next door. And
All
so
these
then
little
she
ceramic
has
Santas.
put all of these
Must
wonderful
have
things
I
up.
like, well, you gave
202-inch Santas.
exactly. You gave me a bin, and I unpacked them all.
Because if you look, here's Santa going, whee!
We
And
got
then we
a
have,
Santa that's a 3/4
that
inch
one's laying down
tall.
like, I'm sexy. Whatever. The point is they got all these different kinds of Santa poses.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, how do you like it now? I just ate my cookies.
Yes.
I didn't find my Santas of the world though. Remember like Yugoslavia?
Yeah,
My
your
mother-
mom's. I didn't see that
Oh,
either.
all those
So I
different
said we're
kinds.
missing a bunch of
We're
boxes.
missing a few boxes.
Oh.
I only found 15 18-gallon totes of Christmas stuff, and plus the 3 big tree totes.
Yeah.
So we probably got another 5 boxes somewhere around.
Only 5 more.
Yep.
So when you become ungrounded, it really causes you to think, what is it that you don't want to repeat? It's that moment. You don't want another car accident. You don't want another scare of your life. You don't want all these things. So when you get to that moment, you literally have to decide how to process. But if you're unable to process and you're unable to connect, then you have to go around your life and learn to adapt. You learn to be in sync with what you can, at least with, because you know that you can't get connected any other way. We have a lot of things that we can do. We talked about this today, where you can use stones and oils and different hands-on healing, meditations. So I think I might even put a meditation app on there as well. Now, as I was drawing cards, the one card I drew was for me. Why was I creating this environment to take over, you know? Video not work, can't get on to do our show. It's like, seriously? So the card I got was the Golden Palace, number 23. I have to say I like number 23 because my birthday falls on the 23rd. So the Golden Palace is there's always enough. The Golden Palace card represents good fortune, ambitions fulfilled, wealth, and prosperity. It may also indicate emotional fulfillment, as perhaps you're entering a time of happiness that's long overdue. Yes, I agree. Because I had found my frequency, my rhythm, my balance of being in that flow of great abundance, continuous. Okay? And then I let people into my world, and what happened was I didn't know how to sustain it, to keep it. It's not that I took it on, it's just there's something I'm supposed to learn about it because I'm a soul coach. I know there's something I'm supposed to learn so I can teach others. The message here is that self-worth isn't measured by what you have, no matter how much abundant your life is. And for me, it's not about physical, it's about that emotional, mental, energetic flow of physical balance inside my physical body. It needs to be not tampered with. That's cute. That's all I heard him say. Instead, it comes from what you are, how authentic you're living your life. Now, I have been doing my best to constantly living my authentic life every single day. from what you remember, you know. And to come in sync with Jen, we have learned how to be more authentic together. And living with her has been interesting because she has some stuff that she needs to heal, just like I have my stuff to heal. I don't know if my stuff's interfering with her stuff yet, but I can very much, again, pick up her frequencies. But I couldn't ask for a better roommate. And then my husband has moved over here, and we're learning to find the rhythm again of how to become a better relationship. Most of you know that prior to the 18 years, so there's like several of them, that we were out of sync, and we were doing just the mother-father thing. We were doing a husband and wife thing. We were doing our thing that it is that people tell you to do. But we didn't really get to establish the relationship that would create our independence, but yet allow ourselves to be together. So we are learning to use hope therapy to communicate on a different level of who we really are. Because without it, I know I probably wouldn't stayed with you. Just like you wouldn't have stayed with me, because we would have always constantly took offense with one another. We would have been angry at all the time. There was a moment this weekend when we got all the boxes out, and I asked you, did you go back to a memory that went back to the old way of who we were, because it had lingered for at least 15 minutes, and an instantaneous rush went through me, and I remember how much I hated certain behaviors of you. And I was like, holy crap, that's not me, what is this? And I had to turn to look at my environment, and I think you were just getting tired. But I don't know if it was because you thought I was pushing you or what it was. He said we only had 5 more boxes left. I said, let's just get through them. You know, let's just rip the Band-Aid off, let's finish. But all I know is that I was feeling these old patterns that were popping up. So this hope therapy is a way to say, you know what, I want to resolve to having a better relationship. Not just with my spiritual self, but to learn how to have communication with my other mate. Let's see here. So again, it comes from what you are, how authentic you are living your life, and how much love you're willing to share. That's huge, because when I'm in my authentic space, I am in that lovable space. But some people may not see me as lovable if they're in that human mindset. Because it's not that I don't take your shit, like I don't take it, it is, oh, do you know you're out of sync? I can take your stuff for so far, but I won't let you live in your hells. Especially if you're going to be in my space every single freaking day. You're going to have to choose to do something. If not, there is the door, go find a life besides living with mine. Now, granted, receiving this card does indicate material gain and a further of tangled rewards. My tangled rewards, my tangible rewards, and my further wealth is not money as much as it is the sanctity, the santity, the way that the energy makes me feel like I can thrive and be healthy without having someone to override my program. And so I cherish this. So literally, I said no. Now before I've screamed no and it didn't change anything. But I don't lose it. Okay, I'm going to ride this out. I'm going to find out what this is. Again, it goes back to how do we respond? How do we choose to respond? Because you can choose to respond and get upset, frustrated because you can't take it anymore. Enough's enough. And that's part of your soul of saying, okay, what is it that you need to address, resolve, so that we don't keep creating this enough's enough stage. Jen has watched me when we first started doing this. No, there was really no reason to spin out. Either we do a show or we don't. And then she's also saw that the energies of other people's energies overriding this, that finally I just said I can't do anymore. I mean, I just wanted a day of clarity and sanity, that I didn't want to have this crap happen that day. So there's a big part of me that values this energy of who I am. So now let's go a little bit further. It says, but things come and go, and knowing your true value leads to even greater riches now. Share the wealth. And the wealth that I'm sharing is this information. I know that Jen appreciates it because she has taken stuff and applied it to her life, and how has it how's it been for you when you learned to apply it to your life?
Well, it's been completely transformational. There's a meme I shared on my Facebook wall today that says, "Oh my gosh, a year can make a difference." I can't remember all the exact words, but basically, a lot has changed in the last year, and it really has. And people are responding to me differently based on this kind of thing, and it has been. I did want to chime in about that. It's okay to lose people in your world.
Okay.
And I'm thinking specifically the more that I step up with this alternative information about healing and health and wellness, and that may seem like, well, duh, you share that stuff all the time. But there is specific information that I haven't shared because it's I can kind of, and I talk about how I use my ears, but I can really perceive what may happen if, oh, I put this and it shows up in the news feed and somebody gets upset about it. I had one instance where a relative of mine is now currently blocked because they just wanted to bully me into their way of thinking, and how dare I think that you're not for inoculations, Jen? Are you stupid? And just blasted with all this science information, and it's not like I don't appreciate
If it was okay
science.
to say that to her. Two, if it was like, oh, you know what, you're supposed to listen to me, and this is.
I have authority over you, and I have, your entire life. And so it was like, block. There is now a way to get it so that you won't be participating in that way, because I am at the point where, no, I'm not going to tolerate it. I've put up with it for so long in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And now the next thing was I put up something yesterday and somebody blasted me for it. And it's like they have the authority to cut because they're upset. And I know what happened with this person. It's not like I'm empathetic, not empathetic, bless you, or compassionate or understand what happened, but this person is potentially angry about a certain thing and felt like it's okay to blast me and the information that I'm posting.
Well, when you read it, energetic-wise, it wasn't just saying, I disagree with what you put up. It was insulting. It was, how dare you? Are you stupid? You better check your stuff. And all I could see was this person was angry that something happened in his life he couldn't prevent. It's just like when my mother died of cancer, I couldn't prevent it. I had to respect her soul. I couldn't help her like I wanted to, the outcome of her to survive, but I did my best of helping her every day. The stuff I used worked, but guess what? She was meant to leave this planet. So there are things that, it was like, oh, you can't put that claims on there, you can't put that. But most of the hidden stuff that, we're the best kept secret because people like them bully and say this is how your life's supposed to be.
So then I'm not going to put the information up. There may be people crying and yearning and begging for this information that we have, but it's not going to go out there because those are the guards, those are the gatekeepers, those are the people that are going to make sure that I shut up about it, because how dare I put up information that clearly hasn't been checked with a fine-tooth comb, because I didn't read all the information about what the picture had to say. I posted the picture. They had to nitpick and find and tell me exactly how wrong I was.
They were upset because they couldn't save somebody. And
exactly,
therefore,
and
they
that's
have to
what
take
I feel.
it out on her.
And
but don't let that bully you into
exactly.
not putting
And
your
so
stuff
now
up.
it's to the point of, I understand who you are in my life, but you know what? If you
don't want to understand me, then
unfriend and don't let the door hit you on the way out, because now this message is far too important, and this is my calling, and I am so much more in touch with it than I ever have been, and that person is not going to be a guard.
And the thing is, her soul says, we have to get some energy back. We have to heal something. And in order for you to see what you need to heal, we have to present it by having
somebody to show up in that fashion.
Exactly. So let's look at, we're going to pull a card
because it's not my immediate, it's a ring out or two.
So people need to understand the inner world is very much immediate. The next ring out, the first ring out, is the person that would be the person every day in your life. That it'd be your husband, your dogs, people that are there, the 5 closest people that are there, and they'll be your biggest reflection of what your soul wants you to address.
I think there was a little thought bubble that said, "How can a dog teach you your lesson?" Well, well, here's the
She
thing.
tuned into me, all right.
Well, here's the thing, because I would have thought that too, but with my ex, we had
A dog.
a dog. And if I was frustrated, if something was going on, there were days he would go run around in the mud and then bring it into the house. Or he would go and dig through the compost food scraps and then start puking all over the house. And it's like, yeah, those were lessons for me because I had
How she responded.
how I responded, how I would blast the dog, how I would yell at the dog, and that kind of thing.
No dog was harmed in the making of that
Exactly.
experience.
And I love the dog, but it was just, there were moments where it was like, this is so inconvenient!
Alright, we'll be back after this. We just realized that the one person called in so they could hear the show. We forgot to mute our mics during breaks, so she got to hear all these things. She's probably laughing her butt off. She's probably writing me right now.
Oh my god!
Is she right?
Guys, I'm so conscious. Oh my god.
I have no idea what we're talking about. Makes you work. And I don't even record them on my video, so I don't
Oh, we
know.
talked about ravioli.
And its healing properties.
Yeah.
Okay. So
We
we're
needed
gonna,
a laugh break.
yes, we did. All right, so we're going to continue
Rings
with.
out.
So why would? Yeah,
This
rings out. That's
person
right.
what is a ring out?
Right
So
here.
one of the things I teach in becoming a spiritual human is the rings out. The inner ring, or these rings out, are your mirrors of what your soul wants you to look at, to address. It is a form of what your meditation is, okay? Your meditation, when you're supposed to go in and shut up, be quiet, you're supposed to journey to different parts. You can do healing on those meditations, but this is a different form of meditation. This is a way for you to not have to, what do you call it, close your mind off, because you get out of your mind, you get in your heart when you do certain meditations. My husband's begging for his ring. Please don't play with it like a little boy. Okay. Yeah, in a toy store. So your soul's job says, you know what, I know you can hear me. So it starts doing these reflections. The first reflection is your inner world of how you know the feeling, how you know what's going on, and you can then address it. The first ring out, like I said, is the very 5 people or dogs or what animals that help you reflect what your reactions, where are you losing power, what is going on. The second ring out would be like if she would tell me about her friend having an issue. Okay?
Yeah.
And it's still close to home because it's through her, but it's not.
It's more of an acquaintance
Yes.
than a close personal friend or housemate.
And the third and fourth and fifth is that the farther that the news all over the world is the farthest ring. I haven't counted the rings because then it can be endless. But what it is that how do you respond to it? How are you reacting to it? What is your thought patterns? If you're angry, then you're feeling it, and you're keeping it alive. And I tell you to change the outcome by healing and looking at the outcome. So you're showing yourself how to meditate by doing it in a daily living form. And all you're doing is you're embracing how I'm watching all the stuff falling off my table in 2 seconds. Ooh, well there's one. Okay, good. By addressing it, I don't think I had to lose everything. So my husband is trying to fix the table.
Watch, I'm gonna pull everything. I'm gonna pull the tablecloth without knocking anything out the table.
Yeah. So the
Table is fixed.
So the rings are important because they help you understand the reflection of what's going on.
The more that you heal, and the information that comes back through those rings is going to be more positive.
Right, because people will say, "Oh, look, this happened in my life today," and if it's a bad thing that happened in their life, they can actually start looking at what is the story, how they know it, how they defined it, and they don't have to just agree that this is happening. You're learning to read code. You're learning to read the soul's language, and you get a chance to really go further in your soul's growth pattern or healing experience. Now, let's go back to how Jen created this
So it
First
wasn't.
ring
It wasn't.
out.
It wasn't a relative like it was
second
on
ring
the,
out, I should say.
It wasn't a relative like on the first experience. This was somebody connected through one of my friends. So this person is actually more of an acquaintance to me.
Okay, so when we're looking at a human form or friendship form, this would be really considered a second ring out, but it happened to you.
Right. It was directed toward me.
But it wasn't inside where it hurt, and it wasn't in your face. It was there in your face to some degree, but it was the second ring out, and you didn't have to be hurt by it. You were hurt to some degree, going, really? But you're learning to observe it and communicate with it in such a way
So
that you realize that, I could be losing power because I don't like this. If you didn't like it, and it's negative, then yeah, you could be losing power. Now, if she thought about it, she could drive herself crazy and really lose a lot of power. Go ahead.
Right, which I was a little bit, but I brought it to you and said, oh my gosh, I don't want to be starting a war on my Facebook wall because it's so rare that anything like that even happens.
So
So it really stuck out. I said, wait a minute, why is this happening?
Exactly. Why is this happening? And that is one of the key things that you would be asking. Instead of, why is this happening to me? You're going, why is this happening? Why is my soul projecting this? Why is this story in place? Now, we drew 2 cards to explain this. And so I'm going to have my husband read, and I'll stop him when I find a
Which
gem.
one do you want first?
Let's go to number 45, Sad Embrace. So her soul wants to talk to her about
Sad
something.
embrace. Loss is a part of life. Let go and allow time to heal you.
Okay, loss is a part of life. So there's a part of you that has learned to live and learn and expect it, where lack is a thing. No, they can exist, but they don't have to control you. So there's a shift happening in your world that you're stepping out, becoming more of Jen Toffel as minister, as medicine woman, as how you know the healing tools of whatever is out there, whether it's herbs, oils, or tools to help in any nature. You're learning to find a voice, your unique voice. And somebody's trying to tell you, no, you can't have it. So you're expected to have to lose yourself
and
to what they
conform.
and conform, and you don't have to. So you're learning that in this case there can be people, you're going to have hecklers, but you don't have to draw them to you. And if you have drawn them to you, let's look a little bit further. So keep going.
You may be entering into a period where loss is a theme. Perhaps you're having to let go of a long-cherished dream. If so, take heart, for this ending may have been for your highest good.
Okay, what's important about this is that what is your safety net? Because it can become a comfort zone, and that safety net of how you used to do old things no longer serve. Because you are entering in a time of, do you spin out when things go bad? Okay, oh, maybe I need to let that go. Learning how to stand on your own 2 feet and in what direction were you going to be going in that. So just kind of look at what is your everyday things that you have to face, what obstacles, what insecurities, and then understand the theme of your day to use this card more. Keep going.
A better and more powerful dream will be realized in your life if you can accept the loss. Relationships based on faulty foundations are meant to end at this time.
Okay, so
it's okay to lose the people that aren't supporting.
yes, and it's okay to lose this because you're not going to die, you're not going to fall off the world, but you're supposed
It's like
to let the
cutting-
transition happen.
And cut the dross
Yes,
away.
go ahead.
Disappointment is a form of perception. If your expectations aren't met, a sense of loss arises, along with sadness and grief. Express these emotions. Tears are like healing rain that can restore life to a parched inner landscape. Growth is always assured. Whatever the loss, however great it is, let go and experience your feelings so that you may soon see what beauty lies ahead.
And sometimes that vision of what you see life that it used to be, or how much you thought your desire and goal was, you need to let it go. Because you can create this old foundation that I have to be safe by buckling down and conforming to what they want, or I have taught myself that anytime somebody says something, then I have to change myself. No, you don't do it either.
I better take this post down, and I better not put any information up.
Now, it depends on how you want a voice. So you're learning to fit into your own space, your own skin, because if you really were to put miles between you and this person, how many miles is this person?
1,000,
1,000 miles. And so even through Facebook, it feels like they're instantly in your space. But when I tell you to consider the source, I'm also telling you consider the distance, the proximity of the location. Because sometimes we keep thinking it's in our face. When you read it, did you hear him say it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to remember that part of the thought management is that you know what his voice sounds like. And somehow he has that authority to inflict upon you, and you really need to heal maybe a sensory system of the hearing. Okay, go ahead. Oh, the next card we got on top of that was that it's like she's learning to become this next part. She's going to have to learn to understand that this loss is needed for the bigger picture to come in. And what is number 42? It says wide open.
Wide open. You are free to express your uniqueness to the world.
What? Did you just get approval from the other side? Say that again. Say that again.
You are free to express your uniqueness
I think that
to
is
the
a
world
big
and
thumbs
share in
up.
all bounty of life's endless possibilities.
Wow, you are meant to. But where were you thought to have said that you couldn't do this? So this person that did this to you was somebody that stopped you as a young person to express yourself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so with her tone of voice, you have just heard how she knows it to be true for her. So then we will address it and heal when we need to. Go ahead.
All manner of opportunities are presented to you at this time. The wide open card is a signal that you're able to truly manifest your dreams and that your goals are in sight.
Wow, that is so awesome that they're telling you this. It's not a prediction, they're telling you this. Come on, it's a better one. It's a better dream. Go.
Don't remain small and contracted. Instead, expand your horizons beyond what you believe to be your limitations. You have a unique voice that needs to be expressed in the world.
Yes.
The universe is supportive of new ideas and approaches at this time, so speak up and speak out. This card is a sign of the maverick who freely roams the wide open space of possibility. Allow for a greater vision to replace old ideas as you dream a grander dream.
Now, I have to say that's incredible. Simply incredible.
The wild roamer. What's a, what?
The wild roamer.
I don't know.
Okay,
That's the
well,
words I remember from reading it.
Oh, so what was your 2 cents on that?
Nothing.
So you're a wild roamer.
No.
What do you think his takeaway it was?
I'm visualizing Jen a long time ago. Before I
Oh!
met her.
Based on what your stories were,
Yes,
the wild
like your
roamer
old,
was
old
wild.
stories of when you're in theology school and all that.
That's rather funny. So,
Let's wear short sleeve shirts. Let's get really wild tonight.
woohoo! So let's look at this. We have this reading, how does it apply to your daily life? Some people say, well, I get cards, I don't understand how to apply them. You can see the bigger picture, or you can break it down and say, what was disturbing you today that caused you to have this imbalance? So, kind of give me something that stands out today that made you upset. Was it when the show wouldn't work?
When I told her to mute the mic.
That's true, somebody told you what to do.
Somebody told me what to do.
Oh, so he was, okay, so we can't ignore this. Here at the table, we've put sign up says mute the mic, and we have learned over and over that
So
how many
now,
times.
now I put fine print, also for our Skype listeners.
But what we are missing is the fact is that these were clues of how to work together. So she came to the table out of sync, and so Scott was doing a nice gesture of, oh, Mike, and she's like, duh, come on, tell me what your thoughts were. You're not going to hurt him.
You won't hurt me.
Yeah.
I don't even know that.
I'll feel the
dumbass.
pain later. If those were the thoughts, then
It got triggered that attitude of, listen here, bucko, are you going to tell me what to do? Kind of thing.
So you understand that since she did not resolve what that gentleman had said on her wall, yes, then it has to show up again as another gentleman, which is now my husband, with a small little remark.
Right, because I didn't blast him as I might on my Facebook, well, not Scott, but this person, when I responded to what they said on Facebook, I did not blast him the way that I might have, a good 10, 20 years ago, and
Ripped him a new one. Gave him a new universe to shove his butt through. And,
Exactly.
yeah.
It was like, I know the part this person plays in my world, and it's amazing how I wanted to be respectful to him regardless of how he was blasting me.
Yes. And it goes to finding your own voice, and being okay that you can have it. I remember the first time that I had this lady write to me, she goes, "You write too many things on the wall, you do all this too much, you need to stop it." And I wrote back, "Well, first of all, I don't know who you are. I did accept you as my friend, and I really like to keep you as my friend. But one of the things I've learned is that, are you having a bad day? And has it aggravated you so much that you have to look at me and notice how much more aggravated I'm the last straw?" And then I told her about the donkey, the old man, and the little boy. And to make the long story short, these three would travel together from town to town. And the situation would be, the donkey had nobody on it, and that's just stupid, you didn't use your donkey, you better do that. And then they go to the next town, "Well, why are you doing that? That's wrong. You should let the old man ride. Do this." You go to the next one. "No, that's wrong. You should let the young boy ride and the old man should walk." There was all these different opinions and different perspectives.
Nothing was right.
And so
And
finally
find
they felt
somebody.
so bad for the donkey because they both were riding it. And the last time they go, "You should really pamper that donkey." So they hoisted the donkey up on their shoulders and tried to walk across the bridge, and the wind blew and the sway bridge fluked just enough that they lost their ass. The moral of the story is that if you are conforming to everybody's belief systems, you could lose your ass over the deal. So what ended up happening is that we're watching Christmases with the Cranks. And if you haven't watched it, it's funny. But there's a lot of conforming. They have an idea of what they want to do. They want to do something different.
According to the Christmas tradition. Now, these are people who are kind of like pillars in their community, and they've done things a certain way, and they've been providing and volunteering and donating and throwing, entertaining and that kind of thing. And the guy actually drafted up this letter to give to his coworkers of, "This is what's going to happen this year.
And he was being honest.
This
is
please
what you can expect.
Please respect my wishes."
Right, and this is what you can expect of it. And everybody was angry. Everybody had to tell him what not, say nasty comments. And he's like, "Okay, now just let it slough off." And the town, or the neighborhood, they're like the neighborhood watch and then the committee, and oh my God, they just had to harass every 2 minutes just because they wanted to do something different. Now, do we live in that kind of world? To some degree, yes.
Some people do.
Her example of her wall. She put that thing on her wall, and now she has this person coming out and dictating to her that it was wrong, and beratement, and calling her stupid to some degree.
Yeah.
And it was like, seriously, these people, do this. Now, why did I tell this lady I could let it drop? Because that's what they tell you to do for people that are upset, or they call them trolls and stuff like this. But this woman, I thought, all right, I'm just going to appeal to this. Now, it didn't always work with other people that I appealed to, with common sense and looking at it from a different angle, because some other people were just like, "No, you have to do it my way." Well, then you just let it go. But for her, she wrote back, she goes, "Oh my God. Well, first of all, tell me about this old man's story." And so I did. And then she wrote back, she goes, "I am so sorry to try to dictate to you what to do on your own wall. Yes, I did have a bad day." And so we had a nice conversation. And it's okay. And I had put a meme up last week, something about, it's okay to have your voice. It's okay. Don't let anybody tell you not to have your voice. And I can't remember the exact words, but she wrote on there, says, "That's the one lesson you taught me. Thank you." So you can make a difference in the world on certain levels. So we're going to take this break and we'll come right back. We're going to find something else.
Okay.
We know that my husband is off getting the show Castle, because Jen likes watching Castle, so we're going to get that recorded.
And
That's funny because it's not a comedy. Okay. It's just the people that watch it are sometimes the comedy portion of the show.
Yes.
Yes.
We can't disturb our nightly ritual. So I have been taking pictures. We ended up putting 1, 2, 3, 4 trees in the house. One's for our studio.
Oh, did you post those on your
just
web-
the one. I have one in my atrium. So I'm doing one with the lights off, one with it on, and the one I posted was our white tree with all characters, cartoon characters from Harry Potter, which isn't a cartoon character, but it has Looney Tunes, which we were biggest fan on.
Some Disney.
Snoopy, Disney.
And then all the Christmas shows, like the Abominable
Yes.
Snowman and
Oh,
Rudolph
both.
and all those characters. So that was fun to put
Yep.
decorate the tree.
So that tree, I've been putting it up there. So we're going to pick up the other trees and start putting it up there, and so we can have a Christmas decoration. Jen and I didn't know whether or not we should do an audio or a video version of it for Medicine Women Reveal, but we may or may not. I don't know. That depends on where she is in her space. So this is, let's see, this is Christmas coming up. Now, I hate talking about holidays when we can use these shows and encores, but or you're having to pick in a card for the week. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, why is it that we don't do predictions? Let's see what the cards say. The reasons why we don't predictions, and that is number 6, mountain.
Mountain. You have the capacity to flow around any obstacle. This is the time to adapt. Sometimes you'll come across what appears to be an insurmountable obstacle, like a huge mountain that separates you from your success.
All right, stop right there. If we tell you something that we see, then we're telling you to write it in concrete, and you
And
either
then it can become an
You'll try
obstacle.
to make that happen.
Right.
You'll try to
Try
make
to
it
make
thick.
it
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
But then there's also the reason that you have future predictions is so that you can change it, okay? Or
Right.
embrace the fact that something's coming. But go ahead.
You might think that climbing it or chiseling away at it is the answer, but why take such a treacherous, tedious approach? Be like the rivers that flow around mountains naturally.
Okay, and what he said about the tedious approach is that you're going to put all your focus and attention to detail.
Oh my gosh, this is going to happen.
Right, and you even though you think that you're healing it by thinking about it, that's just, in theory, that's all you do is think. You're not doing anything to disrupt it. Use a healing tool that will really disrupt it. Change how you know it. It may be helping you understand that you know it this way. But go ahead.
This is the time to adapt to your circumstances. If you decide to climb, remember to take one step at a time, opting for the next right action.
Now, again, one of the things I learned about predicting somebody's future, or it is, like Scotty said, you can't, what did you say?
Take it one step at a time.
No.
I mean, what?
When you,
Flow around.
when, just when you are predicting the future, people can't stop focusing on that moment.
Oh, yes.
And
They
literally,
want to make it happen.
you want to make it happen because there may be some good things. Like we had somebody tell Jen, oh, there's a possibility of what in the future by January?
Oh, the romance that you're going to experience is going to be with a lawyer. And
Yeah.
you're going to meet in a little eclectic kind of coffee shop kind of thing.
And it's going to be what month?
Yeah, it's going to be during the winter, by January or February or something like that.
Once you say.
And
So
it's,
it locks some things into place. Where now, if I were in that state, where it would be like, where's that person?
You
Oh,
could be
look,
visiting
there's a
every
coffee shop. I
shop.
better go in that coffee shop right there, just in case.
It helps other businesses out, yes.
Right, but I may be, depending, by going in there, I may be avoiding where I need to be over here.
Exactly.
Because my attention was over there.
When somebody predicted for me about that I was going to divorce my husband, live in a shack, and it's going to be because of my mother-in-law, all Spirit said, a grain of salt, a grain of salt. And I'm like, what's a grain of salt? Take what she said to a grain of salt, because she was predicting that I hated my mother-in-law because she hated her mother-in-law. She was predicting that all of this stuff was going to happen. Now, she got exactly right, but exactly wrong. Because the argument that we had the night before was that I was trying to carry many things at once, and his mom goes, Scott! And the next thing you know, he was out that door helping her. And I'm like, dude, can't you just learn to say no to her and help me just once instead of saying no to me and never helping me? So we had just what I call spat. There was nothing big. It wasn't a big blowout. So prior to that, I had been sick and tired of standing outside with my kids, freezing my butt off in winter when that bus would be a half hour to 45 minutes late. So I said, that's it. So I made a blueprint of how I wanted a little schoolhouse or a bus house you know, and so where the kids and I could go out there, sit in that, look out the window, and the bus comes, then we can open the door and then get in line and get in the bus. And so one day that argument happened, and the next morning I'm taking the kids out to the bus, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh God, I'm so glad I'm not out there freezing. And all I heard was, how do you like your shack? Now, the key word that the psychic had said was, you're going to be living in a shack, and boy, it looks dumpy. Now, she put her interpretations and her spin and her definitions of belief. And I'm looking around going, I started busting out laughing because my husband and I just kind of had an argument the night before about his mother. And then I'm now in a shack with my 2 kids, and it didn't look pretty, but I didn't care, but it did its job. It kept me warm. So you really have to decide these predictions. Now, there are things that you can find out about the future, and you can either be doomed to repeat it, which is part of what predictions, is that you can look at the rings of life. You can look at everyday experience, and that is a prediction of how you're going to do it the next time. Because every day, your frontal lobe, your brain, your gray matter in your brain recreates, the moment you wake up, recreates. It goes, and it creates all these electrical explosions going on in your head, and recreating that day, and with all of your health, with all the stuff you know, and how you know it, it literally, you start living a blueprint every single day is the same. And when the soul wants you to change something because you're losing power to it, you can literally look at your life and predict what's going to happen. My husband has done that when he said, oh, watch, I'm going to get a red light. He learned to predict what his future was. And even when he had unfolded for the day, he still ran to the end of his timeline and says, I know what's going to happen, with great emphasis on the emotion that he's right. He learned to recode. The question about knowing that prediction is, does it have to be? Most people get so trapped into it, they believe it. See, I told you so. They know it. It's just rhythm. It's just who they are. They over-identified with it so much that it's their identity. But do you get or red lights a lot now?
No.
No. And that's because you disrupted the knowing and
Yes,
the thing that says, I have to have it that way. You changed your outcome. So we looked at the outcome and we said, okay, look at all this energy and thought pattern and emotions I have attached to this outcome. That hasn't come to pass, but you know, it's coming in the future. But it has happened once, so I have a pathway to that. So he had done some healing, tap it out, whatever his method is, and now he hardly gets red lights. He knows that when he gets a red light, it's because it's supposed to be a red light, but he doesn't have to be aggravated by it.
It doesn't have his name on it.
It doesn't have his name on it. Like yesterday, we could notice the pattern is that we were out of sync with our flow because we were getting every red light and we were getting every slow car, and we were like, what's really going on here? So you can learn to read and predict different things. So if you don't like your outcome, then write down how you know your outcome, put it on a scale from 0 to 10, and literally use a tool to change it. You do not need to invest all that energy and all that knowing on it, because what you're doing is you're getting the rut out of the road. Have you ever driven down a road where there's ruts where it's been grooved, the groove has fit into the road? You know what I'm saying?
It sucks your car in.
And it sucks your car in it. And his best friend and my boyfriend they said that his tires,
27 years ago.
they said that what threw his car into the
hit the rut.
he hit the rut, and somehow his tires were bald or whatever, or the tie rod broke. I heard many different stories, but they did say, that kept saying in common, was that the rut in the road caused his car to fling out of the motion that it was in and tossed him into the field.
Had to grab.
Yeah, grabbed him and threw him. And so what's happening when you have repetitive future predictions are your way of saying, oh, look, there's the pattern I know. How much have I invested? It's time to remove the rut and repair the rut so you don't have that, so that you can allow yourself to step back into the flow instead of being thrown off course. So just like with me, there must be a rut where another person's program starts to override mine. You know, so these are all clues about what we can do. So you with me? Any questions, you two, about what I'm saying, so that we can...
It's like for those of us who remember what record players were, it's when the record starts skipping and you need to bump the needle just enough to get it going to the next, so it
Yes.
plays the song.
That is true, because that has little ruts in the grooves.
That shows how old I am.
And you're still quite young, Miss Baby.
They still sell those record players nowadays.
Yes, now they're expensive.
For the DJs that went out.
But what, you get a live person that comes with it?
That would be wonderful.
Ah,
That would be worth the
Well, no.
investment. Depending. Yes, I'd like
But you have to
that
feed 'em.
DJ. They're on their own.
They're on their own. So if you want to be a DJ for Jen and to live
oh, hey,
in that
I
space,
got a neighbor that used to be a DJ. If you can get that DJ for Jen.
you have to take care of yourself. You just have to be available 24/7
Sounds like I need to
because she likes music.
rock 'em, suck 'em. Jen.
To Rock'em Sock'em Scott.
Yes.
I did see another one of those games, Rock'em Sock'em. You know, they probably should open up a store, which they probably have online already, that has all of the old games.
It's called eBay.
Correct, but I was just thinking it'd be kind of cool to walk into a
Oh
store.
yeah, brand new ones.
So we only have the last few minutes left, and it's amazing how fast this show goes, which is good. It's great to have
Yes.
people communicating. So our next show will be on Friday from 5 to 7.
Yes.
For some reason, I can't get used to that darn time slot.
Keep saying
5
2
to 7 Eastern Friday afternoon.
Yes.
So be there.